How does this checkbox know that I'm not a robot? I didn't click any motorcycles, traffic lights. I didn't even type in distorted words, and yet it knew. This infamous tech is called reCAPTCHA.
I thought it just tracks two things. One is how long it takes you to click the box, and then I think another is, can it track your mouse over certain parts of the screen? So it can see if it looks like your mouse is exactly going to the box or whatever. I think it's just those two things, no?
And when it comes to reach, few tools rival its presence across the web. It's on 12.5 million websites, quietly sitting on pages that you visit every day. And it's actually not very good at stopping bots.
Wow.
Which of course led me to the question, if it's not stopping bots, what is it doing? This simple question sent us down a rabbit hole that was deeper and more complicated than we ever imagined.
The box test isn't really about the box.
A single checkbox.
It turns out reCAPTCHA isn't what we think it is, and the public narrative around reCAPTCHA is an impossibly small sliver of the truth. And by accepting that sliver as the full truth, we've all been misled.
Tracks your mouse movements.
For months, we followed the data. We examined glossed over research and uncovered evidence that most people don't know exists. This isn't the story of an inconsequential box. It's the story of a seemingly innocent tool and how it became a gateway for corporate greed and mass surveillance. We found buried lawsuits, whispers of the NSA, and echoes of Edward Snowden. This is the story of the future of the internet and who's trying to control it.
Why can't a robot work out how to tick a box marked, "I'm not a robot"?
In the largest antitrust trial in the United States in 25 years.
Oh,
Let's start
shit.
here. What
That
you've been
was a
told
robot.
is wrong. Journalists told you such a small sliver of the truth that I would consider it to be deceptive.
Why can't a robot just click, "I'm not a robot"? The box test isn't really about the box.
It actually tracks your mouse movements right before you check the box.
See, if you run code to make an object move to a certain point, like a cursor, the simplest version will make it move in a straight line.
Robots move like this.
But humans naturally aren't that accurate. We don't move in a perfectly straight line.
But humans move kind of like this.
Humans tend to move their mice in wiggly, imperfect ways.
And that is what this version of CAPTCHA was looking for.
Oh no. Am I gonna be, is this not true? Is it fake information?
Okay. Mouse macro software, find image, look for the checkbox, move mouse to checkbox, and make it click. Play. I mean, it's so easy. It's so easy to test this. Okay.
Oh, no.
You're probably thinking, why does any of this matter? And I agree with you. I did agree with you. I actually halted this investigation for a few weeks because I thought it was quite boring. Until I went to renew my passport. Passportstatus.state.gov. I got a CAPTCHA, not a checkbox, not fire hydrants, but the old one. And I clicked it, and it took me here. reCAPTCHA seems to have become a spyware. It might be also that its primary purpose is doxing of US residents and spying on everyone else.
Wait, where's this website? What was that?
Here.
Okay.
reCAPTCHA seems to have become a spyware. It might be also that its primary purpose is doxing of US residents and spying on everyone else.
Go to passport.gov and click the link like he did. There's no way that he just clicked that link and it took him there. Okay, apply first time. What? Fuck, hold on. Where did he? CAPTCHA is an acronym for completely automated. Okay, this is CAPTCHA.org. Thank God. Somebody's car was saved today by that car alarm. Thank goodness. Thank God.
I don't know what led me to do it. It felt like my mouse was moving itself. An entire page dedicated to documenting the horrors of reCAPTCHA, alleging national security implications for the US and foreign governments, its ability to dox users, mentioning secret FISA orders, the same type of orders that Edward Snowden risked his life to warn us about.
It is one of the most secretive places in America, a federal court of 11 judges with the power to allow government to conduct electronic surveillance on you.
Who put this together? Anonymous. If you're a web native journalist looking to get in touch, we doubt you're gonna have a hard time figuring out who we are anyway. This felt like a key, left in plain sight, whispering, you're gonna have a hard time figuring out who we are anyway. This felt like a key, left in plain sight, whispering, there's a door nearby, and it's meant to be open. This is what we're good at. This is what we do. It felt like someone on the other side already knew that, as if they'd been waiting for someone to come along and notice. Okay, let's get this out of the way. reCAPTCHA is not, and really has never been, very good at stopping bots. reCAPTCHA was founded in part by this guy in 2007. Version 1 looked like this. In 2009, Google bought reCAPTCHA. But in 2012, hackers were able to get bots through with a 99.1% success rate. V2 dropped in 2014. It was the first time we saw the infamous checkbox. This is also when it allegedly became spyware. In 2017, version 2 was cracked with an 85% success rate. The code to do so was made public and still works to this day. 2018 was the launch of V3. According to researchers at UC Irvine, there's practically no difference between V2 and V3. A few months after the launch of V3, it was beaten with a 97% success rate. Google doesn't tell us how reCAPTCHA works, besides
Using an advanced risk analysis engine.
but these hackers, they spell it out. Do you believe that reCAPTCHA should be thrown out?
Yeah, I think it's time to deprecate this technology.
This is Dr. Andrew Searles, and he's the lead author of this study.
And so I essentially developed a mirror of reCAPTCHA that would make you have to solve multiple in a row and would tell you that you're wrong, regardless of what you said, and showed some of the data that you can actually scrape. You can scrape so much data from somebody's user interaction from a website.
Whoa, this has been my big question. What data is Google collecting?
They can collect all sorts of data, right? Any information, any keystroke, any click, IP address, user agent string, all the websites, all the browsing history, cookie information.
reCAPTCHA takes a pixel-by-pixel fingerprint of your browser.
Wait, excuse me? Hold on.
Somebody's user interaction from a website.
Whoa, this has been my big question. What data is Google collecting?
They can collect all sorts of data, right? Any information, any keystroke, any click.
Any information, any keystroke, any click. So clicks and keystrokes, while you have the browser window open, you're typing into or clicking in the thing. That makes sense, sure.
IP address, user agent string, all the
IPs are all just part of the browser session.
websites, all the browsing history.
All the browsing history? A website should not be able to access my browsing history. I don't believe that's true, unless there's an exploit in Chrome. No, he said Google. Google shouldn't have access to your browsing history, unless they can view it through Chrome. I don't know if it would be obfuscated on Google's end or not. Would browsing history be obfuscated on? Probably not on Google's end. I don't think it would be.
Whoa, this has been my big question. What data is Google collecting?
They can collect all sorts of data, right? Any information, any keystroke, any click, IP address.
Maybe they mean tracking cookies? Yeah, sure, I guess. But
User agent string, all the websites, all the browsing history, cookie information.
reCAPTCHA takes a pixel-by-pixel fingerprint of your browser, a real-time map of everything you do on the internet.
I think it's like 10 million websites employ this technology. They
okay. Well, kind of. But
essentially get access to any user interaction on that web page.
Are you saying that Google can see anything that anyone is doing on any website that has reCAPTCHA embedded in it?
There's a very good chance they have that capability, is what I will say.
reCAPTCHA doesn't need to be good at stopping bots because it knows who you are. The new reCAPTCHA runs in the background, is invisible, and only shows challenges to bots or suspicious users. If there's any...
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, I'm sorry. This just clicked. Oh, I'm sorry. I wonder if he'll say this. Hold on, this just clicked. I'm sorry. So if I have a form and I want you to fill out, hey, I want you to apply for a passport, right? I want you to enter your name, social security number, your birthday, your address or whatever. And at the bottom here, I have a reCAPTCHA element or whatever. Unless, my guess would be, unless you very carefully sandbox this as part of the design for the page, then yes, this element that's loaded on the page probably can read every single thing. That would be I don't know if I would consider that to be an exploit or not, but that would be what's being about. Okay, that makes sense. And that actually would be pretty spooky. That is kind of scary. Okay.
in the background is invisible and only shows challenges to bots or suspicious users. If there's any part of this video you should listen to, it's this. Stop making dinner, stop scrolling on your phone, and please listen. When I tell you that reCAPTCHA is watching you, I'm not saying that in some abstract, metaphorical way. Right now, reCAPTCHA is watching you. It knows that you're watching me, and it doesn't want you to know. It's not just Google.
Now, there is this whole sketchy market about brokers, advertising brokers, that like to purchase large amounts of people's information.
These brokers have information on probably all of us. They get this data from a variety of sources. Government records, like your birth certificate, your voter registration, court documents, or social media, the posts you've made, the posts you've liked, the quizzes you've taken, the websites you've visited. They package all of this together, and they sell it. They're not just selling this to advertisers. Many are selling it to whoever will pay for it. So I use a tool called Delete Me. They're also graciously sponsoring this portion
big missed opportunity
of today's video. Delete Me goes through the strenuous steps of getting your data removed from hundreds of these data broker websites. Just in my first month, Delete Me searched 3,500 listings for my personal information, and they found data on me on 55 different data broker websites. And then they got it removed on my behalf. My favorite thing about this is that it's not a one-time deal. Delete Me routinely checks different data broker websites to see if they post anything new on me, and then they get it removed. I don't have to do a thing. Because they've sponsored this portion of today's video, Delete Me is offering a 20% discount to you if you use the link down below. It's joindeleteme.com/chuple20, or you can use code chuple20 at checkout. So if you don't like the idea of corporations selling your personally identifiable information for financial gain, and you see the potential risks of the data economy, use that link. You'll get 20% off, and you'll get your first report back in 7 days. Thank you to Delete Me. I'm seriously, genuinely, really impressed with what you all do.
Wow.
In January of 2015, a class action lawsuit was filed against Google. The allegations claim that every time someone solved a reCAPTCHA challenge, they weren't just proving that they were human, but they were performing unpaid labor for Google without their knowledge. Look at this. Typing morning overlooks would get you a passing grade, obviously, but so would adorning overlooks, and pouring overlooks, even egg overlooks, horse overlooks, blue man group overlooks, all of them will get you a passing grade and confirm you're a human. reCAPTCHA is testing you on this word alone. It has no idea what this one is. You, on the other hand, do, and when you submit the word morning, you are fulfilling a contractual obligation that Google has with one of its clients, like the New York Times. And when you do this, you are helping to train one of Google's AI datasets. As one researcher says, you are doing unpaid labor that directly benefits the world's most powerful surveillance corporation. And even though the judge acknowledged this to be true, the class action lawsuit was dropped, in large part because the time involved for each user is extremely small. As a part of Dr. Searle's study, they estimated that users have spent more than 819 million hours taking these tests, which results in $6.1 billion of unpaid labor. Maybe we could find a way to turn a blind eye to all of this, as long as the tests serve their purpose, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Google has said that they don't use the data collected from reCAPTCHA for targeted advertising, which actually scares me a bit more. If not for targeted ads, which is their whole business model, why is Google acting like an intelligence agency? So I dove into Google's 32,000-word terms of service. When you're writing a legal document, syntax matters. They only collect data as necessary. But because of this comma, the words as necessary only apply here, not here.
The word improve, general security purposes, those are keywords where you're like, okay, I see you clearly say it's not being used for personalized advertising. Congratulations, great.
What was your take on the CEO getting shot and people's response to it? Demonization of billionaires and CEOs and firms in the U.S. is super ultra cringe. I always felt that way. I don't. What do you want me to say? It's cringe.
Improve mean in that context? What does that security purposes entail? That's where Google is the art of saying nothing.
This is Zach. He's a privacy watchdog, but he's also the co-creator of this website, a central hub dedicated to documenting the U.S.'s antitrust case against Google.
Google has...
Wait. I saw the clip of Destiny talking about the reaction to the medical CEO guy getting killed, and I don't really get how it's any different to his reaction to Trump rally guy's death. No normal person is saying go on a killing spree of CEOs, Bar Hassan types, but nobody feels bad for a guy implicated in some seriously morally fucked up stuff that just makes society worse. Wasn't that what Destiny said about the rally guy plus some jokes? The issue, I think, is that people... do I really care that much about? I think the issue I just have is the underlying thoughts that people have, where like all firms are bad, all pharmaceutical companies are bad, all CEOs are bad, but I think that's like the more annoying shit. If everybody didn't have those retarded thoughts and some CEO dude gets popped because some guy's grandma died because they got denied, I don't know if I would care as well. All the underlying thoughts around it are really retarded, I think.
Creator of
entail. That's where Google is the art of saying nothing.
This is Zach. He's a privacy watchdog, but he's also the co-creator of this website, a central hub dedicated to documenting the U.S.'s antitrust case against Google.
Google has allowed themselves this general security purposes allowance to use the...
Jessica and Cherry went off on this with Dan Can't Stream.
Decisions and the data it collects for anything that they deem as security related.
In 2015, Google failed an audit by the United Kingdom's ICO.
Insurance is a uniquely bad enterprise, no? Why? Why would it be? What do you mean?
Saying that Google is too vague when describing how it uses personal data gathered from its services and products.
Is sharing to the government considered security related? It probably could be defined that way by a creative lawyer.
Check this out. If you want to submit a tip to the FBI, you're met with this notice, acknowledging your right to anonymity. But even though the State Department doesn't use reCAPTCHA, the FBI and the NSA do.
A federal court of 11 judges with the power to allow government to conduct electronic surveillance on you.
And if they want to know who submitted the anonymous report, Google has to tell them.
But the Federal Intelligence Surveillance Court is anything but public. It's here somewhere inside this sprawling federal court complex. This is a court so secret, we don't even know exactly where it convenes inside the...
I think you'd agree being celebratory of the CEO's death is just as cringe as being celebratory of the Corey dude's death. Anyone posting memes and celebrating with glee anyone's death is very cringe. I think that's generally true, but I mean, like, that's going to be on a scale, right? Like, we probably shouldn't celebrate, like, Coach Red Pill dying. I don't think I even tweeted anything celebrating it, but I mean, like, or Rush Limbaugh dying, obviously, of lung cancer, ironically enough. But I mean, there's a sliding scale. I think the thing that bothers me is just more the underlying thoughts about it than anything else. But
somewhere inside this sprawling federal court complex, this is a court so secret, we don't even know exactly where it convenes inside the building.
These companies, when they engage in a clandestine relationship with the government, as soon as they begin cooperating in part, they will ultimately end up cooperating in full.
Look at this. I realize most people aren't submitting anonymous tips to the FBI, but listen, earlier this month, 404 Media got its hands on internal emails from the Secret Service. They confirmed that the intelligence agency used a technology called LocateX, which uses location data harvested from ordinary apps installed on phones. Because users agreed to an opaque terms of service page, the Secret Service believes it doesn't need a warrant, despite those apps often not saying that their data may end up with the authorities.
Wow.
Any information, any keystroke, any click, IP address, all the websites, all the browsing history.
A real-time map of everything you do on the internet. It knows who you are. Google has essentially created a digital toll booth with reCAPTCHA. They hide in the background, watching whatever you do before, during, and after you interact with it. Then it puts emphasis on the question, which human is this user? Rather than the ordinary, is this user human? If it can figure out who you are, it lets you through. It's also why this happened.
Why can't a robot just click, I'm not a robot? Robots move like this.
Okay, for the checkbox. It's so easy to test this. If Google can't figure out exactly who you are, let's say you clear your cookies, you're browsing incognito, maybe you're using a privacy-focused browser, they flag you as suspicious. You're grouped in with the bots, who are actually better at solving reCAPTCHAs than you are. And you still have to pay the toll in a different way. Today, that means labeling Google's machine learning datasets. In my experience, the more that I try to hide my identity from Google, the more datasets they make me train. Finally, if you reject those two prior options, reCAPTCHA, the toll booth, stops you right there. The internet isn't open for you. In short, reCAPTCHA isn't about bots. It's about you.
US v. Google. What's the top down on this situation?
Here in the United States, there are a group of attorney generals and the Department of Justice are basically suing Google for a variety of monopolistic practices. And so the government's response was, we want you, Google, to get out of the advertising industry. So Google, as you can imagine that being one of their primary sources of revenue, said, okay, looks like we're going to trial over this.
I realize the irony of posting this video on YouTube, which is wholly owned by Google. We reached out to Google for comment. And by the time of filming this, they still haven't responded. So if they have, you'll see it on the screen somewhere right now.
Google has all this power. What they have currently is empowering the data broker ecosystem, tons of this data flowing into government and data broker hands. What's interesting is if Google is forced to sell their ad tech space, it may actually make privacy outcomes worse in the short term. Depending on who they sell it to, that company may be more evil than Google.
And thanks again to Delete Me for sponsoring a portion of this video. Thanks so much to our Patreon supporters.
I don't get the concern trolling over how much data people collect, like the amount of time and manpower it would take to actually weaponize this at scale would be fucking ridiculous. I think there are arguments for and against why we should care about it, but to weaponize stuff like this would actually be trivially easy. Depending on how you view it, it's already weaponized, right? In terms of advertising, directed ads, I guess we wanted to say. But I mean, like there's just a lot of implications for things, I guess. There's a lot of implications. And the thing is, too, one of the reasons why it's important to, one of the really big reasons why it's important to practice good security, like to have good security practices, to have good engineering practices, to have good, just like good sandboxed principles of constructing a thing in general, is not just to stop problems that you know about, but also to stop problems that you don't know about when you do things the correct way. Sometimes it seems like you can make a shortcut in a certain area or not care much about a thing right here because it's leaky or whatever, but in the future it might come back to you in a weird way. Hypothetical, okay? So let's say that I've been fighting Donald Trump a lot and, you know, I hate the government and I hate all these people. And then let's say Donald Trump comes in. Let's say I fight with that Kash Patel guy on Twitter a lot. I hate him as well, right? What if it is the case that a lot of these algorithms and tracking things are incredibly sophisticated, such to the point that the FBI, without a warrant, could bring up like a browser history for like every single porn video I've ever seen, right? And I get an email from an anonymous source that says like, hey, I see all the sissy, tranny, rainbow dash, whatever horse porn that you've been watching. Sure would be a shame if you kept talking shit about Trump. And because the FBI, because so much is interconnected, yeah, that like, would that happen? Realistically, probably not, hopefully not. But there's just like, I guess, funnily enough, I just learned this on kind of a personal level, not what you're thinking, where I'm going with this. But when I redid like my employment structure, one of the things that I noticed is that it's important for me to have a separate, like, it's important for me to have a separate, say, moderation structure across all my different platforms. Because now if somebody gets banned in my chat or in my subreddit or in my Discord, I know exactly who to talk to and I know exactly why it happened. Whereas before, when like 7 people had mod across all the domains, I wouldn't actually know like, oh shit, like this guy got banned for this place for a reason that I wouldn't even know because this fight that happened in a totally, right? It's harder to keep track of things. I'm just saying like when you start to like cross a bunch of stuff over and when a bunch of stuff is leaky and good practices aren't followed, things can synergize or collaborate in highly destructive ways. I guess if that makes sense, yeah. Aren't you kind of hypocritical on this? DGG saves personally identifiable chat logs from 10 years ago, and it's probably not EU legal. One, I don't know if my chat saves any logs. I'm pretty sure that's another website that does it that I have literally no control over. But all client-side code is open source in browsers. You can just step through what reCAPTCHA is sending, despite the obfuscation. It's true that this could, in theory, be doing more on some sites. It's not hard to expose when it's being done. Well, telemetry will only tell you what you're sending to the other side. You have no idea what they're doing with it, right? Also, to say that it's all open source, I mean, sure, but like how many people are like, let me go ahead and check the source myself to make sure that this is good, right? I mean, like, yeah. You also don't know, you don't know what's going on their end either, right? Like, wait, okay. Corey said, same origin policy and content security policy along with other browser security that exist, HTTPS, sites don't allow it to access the whole page or anything close. reCAPTCHA usually exists in iframes, which are sandboxed from the rest of the site and are only allowed information provided to it. Okay, I don't know. That's why I said unless it's sandbox, but I don't know. Maybe that is standard practice. I'm not sure. Owns Russell search? I don't fucking know. I don't pay for it. How do you not have control over a third-party site saving chat logs on your website? Would you not be able to tell them to stop if you wanted? Also, do people like just feel other people delete their chat logs if there's no coordination? I don't know. Ask them. I don't have control over any of that shit. This is why every time I go to fucking log somebody, I have to ask you guys, somebody link the fucking website. I don't even know what the fuck it is. It might be ran by people in DGG or something. I'm not sure. But like all the chat logs are publicly facing things. It's not like you could ban people from recording them. Like if you wanted to, you could go to any Twitch chat or go to any public facing chat and record everything. You can do it in my YouTube chat. Nobody's stopping you. I don't even know if it's illegal. Or there'd even be like a rule or regulation against it. What do you mean? How do you stop people from archiving like publicly available? I don't really understand why targeted ads get so much hate. Why would I want an ad for some random Mexican brand of soap or something as an American when I could get an ad for something I'm actively looking / in the market for? I don't think that there's anything wrong necessarily with targeted ads. I think people get a little bit weird about that, but there are troubling implications to things that could happen in the like the example I gave with the FBI. Like there could be further things or whatever. Yeah. There is such a thing as right to be forgotten in the EU legislation. Right to be forgotten means that nobody can log any chats anywhere on the internet? Okay. I thought right to be forgotten is how much personally identifiable information a website stores about a user, especially in their database, but targeted ads can be predatory as fuck, especially for medical stuff. Okay. It means that anyone can request all data of them to be removed. Yeah, from like a database or stuff. I don't know if that means you can request to remove stuff that you've contributed. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure. If I'm on Twitter or Facebook and I want to delete all my posts, I'm pretty sure you have a right to do that. But if there was like I don't know. I just don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure. I know that you can delete everything in like a company's database that they store about you. You have a right to request the deletion of that. But I don't know if that extends to like posts you make or other people logging the posts you make. I'm not sure. Damn. Daniel Penny jury deadlocked on manslaughter charge. The guy who choked the dude in the subway.